Hey, welcome inside the FOX Weather ROWI Report. I'm FOX Weather Meteorologist Steve Bender. We're talking college football. It's now week 15. It's like the conference championships. This is where things get spicy. And I'm not only talking weather-wise, I'm talking about the standings. I got the Mustache Marauder. I got Jared. He's going to be on deck. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, too, about what that means overall with the standings. But let's lock in on the forecast. We got a lot of active weather. If you haven't had a chance to jump over to the FOX Weather stream, we're talking about it every day, 24/7. For me, I host the 6 to 9 show. The other guy you hear a lot, Rowdy and Loud, Ian, he does 3 to 6. So come hang out with us on the afternoon and evening side of the day. But the big thing for us is talking about the active weather pattern up north. Got the La Nina winter cycle in full throttle. Notice by Friday, man, it's the mid-Atlantic. We're going to be talking about a thing called cold air damming. Yeah, you heard it. And so that's going to be an interesting aspect of all of it, what plays through the Appalachian region. But notice as we get towards the I-95 corridor, spots of North Carolina into Virginia, Richmond, we got a layer of ice. It's this wintry mix that could play out, and that could make some problems. So we're going to get into that not only on the FOX Weather stream, let's get into it now about some of those key mark areas where we could have some activity. You got UNLV, the Rebels. They're going to be going out to Boise State, the Broncos. Obviously, this is going to be in Boise, Idaho. Look at the precipitation impact. It's a 7.9. Now, this time of year, precipitation is this big word, of course, that could mean a variety of things. And so for this, we're going to dive deeper into ultimately what that means. Does it mean it rains? It doesn't mean it snows? Does it mean it's sleet? Ultimately, this one looks like we're well above freezing. There's not even a transition zone. It looks like it's going to be a rain event. So let's bring in the man that I talked about before. Jared, you're looking at this game, and it's a medium risk of weather impact. Of course, we talk about rain's a little bit different everywhere. Idaho is absolutely beautiful. Boise is one of my top cities that I would want to move to and live. And with this, you're looking at the rain. It's that nuisance rain, right? It's not going to be the rain that says, hey, the game is going to get delayed by anything because it's subsevere, but it's the thing that just makes you battle through the elements and makes everything just a little more difficult.
It's just sucky to play through, Steve.
All right, way to cut through that. Nice.
Really. I mean, that's really what it boils down to here. It's harder to grip the ball. Now they're going to have measures, especially winning the Mountain West Conference. They want to go, they got all the towels out to go dry the balls off. They want to keep those balls.
How do you dry the towels?
You just get new towels. Dude.
Okay.
You just have an army of towels.
How many towels do you need for this game, Jared?
I would say at least.
What's the over and under on towels?
Over under towels. I would say.
Can we bet
at least
on that?
$200 to $300. $200 to $300 towels.
You think 200 or 300 towels? If anybody wants to fact check this, and anybody listening,
that's my guess.
Yeah, somebody find that out.
You got like one towel per player for the most part.
Okay.
So you got like a huge amount across both sides.
You think every player needs a towel?
Yeah. I think everybody's going to want
Which
a towel.
Which player needs the most towels?
It's got to be the quarterback, man.
Well, what about the center?
Yeah, I mean, the center and the quarterback, they're working neck and neck fixing that football up.
Whoever's listening to this right now is like,
so we're not even good. So from this, getting back to the weather impact side,
okay.
The rain is not crazy enough where it's complete washout. They're unable to move. The team should be able to move the ball. It's that nuisance rain level. So you still see a reduction in your passing efficiency. It's harder to catch the ball. It's harder to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. It's easier to drop things. You see an increase in fumbles that you will likely see during the game.
Yep.
So mainly on the fumble side.
Yep.
You see they're going to be slightly favored, but it's not like an overwhelming amount where you could guarantee that.
And one good thing, or I would say aspect of this is when you look at the wind, because when you have the combined effect, then it really just makes it, everything you just said, elevated to the 10th degree, right? It makes it even much more difficult. Just the execution of everything. With the wind being relatively light, let me ask you, what do you think that changes overall? What's the biggest aspect that this could change? Because we look at like field goals, that's going to get wiped out once you get big wind and rain, right? That just makes it really difficult. The percentages would tell you just go for it, right? It's better. But when you look at a light wind with this type of rain, what do you think ultimately that I guess has the biggest impact? What part? Would it be the deep throws?
It's still going to be the deep throws. Like okay. Now you're able to do it a bit more, but actually I will say this. In this specific scenario, one thing that is a little bit harder are balls that are really rifled through.
Okay.
It's going to be harder to go and catch and grip those balls. So quarterbacks who are trying to go into their tighter window throws, that's probably going to be slightly more impacted than your deep throws would fully be with the full wind impact.
Okay, that's good to know, right? Because we talk about each for college, these type of weather impacts it has a bigger type of influence than what you would see in the NFL. And each college quarterback doesn't have a rocket arm. Some of them do just kind of glide it in there, right? And they feed it in. And in a game like this, that actually could be more beneficial than the guy who's got a rocket arm because it just makes it almost impossible to catch that missile when it's just soaked. So it's maybe a lighter throw and finding those openings versus just forcing it in. Let's talk about what we're seeing on Saturday in SEC country. We're down in the southeast, and you'll notice that we do have some widespread showers, and that will impact Tulane and the green wave. It's so strange. Not only to see that, but both of these teams being ranked right now. What? Like, this is not something that I would have ever thought. And I think I loved it. There was a quote by Tulane's coach, just probably a couple of weeks ago when they were first ranked, or it might have been last week. He was saying, this doesn't speak to how good we are. This actually just speaks to how bad the rest of the country is doing right now. But overall, what we're looking at down south, Tulane is in New Orleans, by the way. They're on the outskirts of this. I would think more interior towards Florida, Georgia, those spots, they're going to get more of the impressive rain. But with this, still some light rainfall. And again, I'm actually kind of surprised with this, Jared, that we're looking at more of a sub-severe type of event. This is the area where we've had low and severe opportunities throughout the week. By the weekend, maybe we're still too far out. This does look like maybe it's just rain. And I guess I would speak to probably because of the late kickoff versus the afternoon kickoff.
Yeah, absolutely with that. Now, if we're talking like more towards the middle of the day, we might be getting closer to those high ROWIs just for the thunderstorm impact, which could delay the game at some point, cause a reset, turns that. Now that we don't have that, you're actually probably going to see more weather impact during the game just because, during while football is actually being played, because this wouldn't lead to a delay in the game.
The mean green versus the green wave. I know there's some type of
a lot of greens. That's
just everything's green except the ROWI.
The big thing is that this team is basically a win and in game for the college football playoff. Both these teams, the American has actually been a pretty solid conference overall. South Florida is the best overall advanced metrics, but they couldn't make the conference title game. It's these two teams, Navy, Memphis, additional teams that had solid wins in the non-con. So overall, the winner of that game is going to the conference championship, and what you're going to see is just like a slight reduction in passing ability, but nothing that's really going to completely overthrow the initial game plans.
Nice. Sorry, I kind of jumped ahead.
No, you're
there
totally fine.
You're
going through.
Looking at Friday.
This is an audio form too. So the audio people never do.
Never do. Well, now you do. We encourage you, by the way, come check us out on social media. We always post it there, so you can see the graphics we're showing right now. Friday night, or Friday through the day, and then into Friday evening. Looking at the I-95 corridor, Mid-Atlantic. That's where you got the wintry mixed coastal areas, more of a rain event. And as we get into Friday evening, now it's moving up into the northeast, and it's very limited. Most of that's moved offshore, but as we look at the overnight development of that, there is some light snowfall. And of course, if you're just traveling, that's going to make it difficult to and from the game, but we're here to talk about the overall impacts to the game itself. So let's get into Harrisonburg, Virginia, 7 p.m. Eastern time at Bridgeforth Stadium. You got the Troy Trojans versus James Madison's Dukes. And you're really good at this, Jared, talking about, obviously you were just saying at the last game, what's the implication? What's the, obviously the big emphasis of this game? Because when you're looking at this JMU, they're ranked 25. Troy's unranked, so we're talking about this game, even with a low risk of weather impact, because there's some focus, there's some momentum on this.
Yeah, so the storms should be out of the way by that point. So what risk of weather impact is low. You still have those cold conditions. It's not the nicest for Troy coming up a little bit further to the north. The implications here is that, with that, it's slight lean to James Madison. If James Madison wins, they have a very good shot at making the college football playoff because of the scenario that's unfolding with the ACC, our next game.
Yeah. And we're going to have to ask you overall how you feel about that, because I think there's a lot of upset people.
There's a lot of upset people for very good reason.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that in just a moment. It's like a little tease about what you could hear at the end of the episode. What we're going to do is take it down to the Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's Saturday, 8 p.m. Eastern. And you got the Blue Devils heading to the Cavaliers there in Virginia. To your point, the entire event is likely going to play out Friday afternoon through Friday evening. We are now looking 24 hours after that event. And truly what you get at the back end of these events is the wind setting up out of a different direction. It brings in some cooler conditions. And now you're looking down into Charlotte where temperatures are into the mid 40s, still well above freezing, of course, but a little chill in the air as they duke it out here. pun was intended, for the ACC championship.
Yeah, the only thing is there's an ever so slight shot of a few brief rain droplets, and that would have no real concern for the game. Even when those were showing up on our forecast here, the ROWI maintained at low just due to the light nature of that rain. Now here, Virginia is winning, and it's very simple for them.
Okay.
If Duke wins, it's a little more complicated.
So then JMU has the chance.
JMU right now has better resume metrics as a whole than Duke does. We have to think about Duke has the head-to-head loss to Tulane in the non-conference for the Americans. The American is certainly winning, and JMU is in very good shape if Duke wins the ACC title game here. Now, granted, the weather is not going to be helping Duke at all. They've played a lot better as of late, but Virginia is still overall the more talented team, and Virginia came off a very nice, strong win against Virginia Tech, which has been very difficult for them to do in the past, even when they have been the better team in the regular season. So this is a solid Virginia team. It should win this game, but any mess in that is going to cause, like a Duke win could cause some massive chaos, and really, even beyond the college football playoff this year, the future of the ACC conference.
True. And as we get into all of this, there's a lot of drama because we had all the rankings that were released. And look, I was on social media. I was just doing a casual scroll, and I ended up seeing your post. And I want to give you a chance to sound off to plead to America why the U should be in this thing and should be battling it out. I think you made some really good cases there.
I mean, the biggest thing is that the Notre Dame narrative is a false narrative. Notre Dame's game control narrative is they ranked 5th in game control, Miami 6th in game control. The biggest complaint that they point to is that Notre Dame got work done in the first half versus Miami. Now, that includes a game where Notre Dame was well into the third quarter, up 12-10 over the worst team of the ACC. Boston College finished with a 2-10 record, got blown out in nearly every game, but somehow was able to play Notre Dame close into that deep into the third quarter until Notre Dame scored a touchdown at the end of the third quarter and then one more at the end to win by 15. NC State, where Notre Dame was neck and neck, tied until a field goal to take the lead at the half, that Miami was on top 24-0 at the half on. Miami, again, had 4 common opponents with Notre Dame and outscored them or had a bigger win in 3 out of those 4 games. And another point is Notre Dame's biggest win of the season that helps their metrics a ton. The 2 games, the Arkansas game and the Syracuse games, have extenuating circumstances that help that out. Arkansas had just come off of like a brutal loss to Memphis. The coach was a dead man walking. There were protests to fire the coach. The players were completely checked out of that game, and the coach was immediately fired at the end of that Notre Dame-Arkansas game when Notre Dame blew out and padded their metrics. Yeah. The other point is that in that Syracuse game, Syracuse's main quarterbacks were hurt. They were starting a walk-on lacrosse player who weighs not even 190 pounds soaking wet. And he has completed 4 of 18 passes against North Carolina. And Notre Dame, like, this guy was so beyond awful. You know, remember Nathan Peterman's start in the NFL?
Yeah.
It was Nathan Peterman times a million. Notre Dame.
You know it's getting bad, and you know that he's done a lot of research when you start looking at how far down Syracuse had to go in order to get their starting QB. And honestly, you start looking at that game. I mean, they threw up 70 points, and you're wondering, like, wow, this is crazy. But to your point, it's always in the parameter of what was the circumstances during that game. It's not as impressive of a win with just what the numbers are saying when you start putting it into context where you have a guy that just doesn't even really play football that's out there trying to lead everything. And so I think the biggest thing for me is I think you put this in your post, at least one of them that I saw, that it's like these rankings don't even, it doesn't even matter at some time. It matters for who gets in.
The rankings are determined backwards.
Yeah.
The teams are decided they want to go in and defend. Look at that. We've seen, like, it's mad. That's mad at the College Football Committee, the stinking monitor.
So I want to hear everybody that's been listening to this. You've been hanging out. What do you think? What problems do you have with the rankings? Do you see Notre Dame that's ranked too high? Do you think Miami should be above them? I saw a lot of people that were frustrated with Texas. By the way, they just beat Texas Tech, and now it's like, oh, they're sitting on the outside.
So here's one thing.
BYU. What's happening with that?
I will say about Texas versus the whole Notre Dame, Texas, Miami, Alabama debate. Alabama got moved up, and Alabama got moved up because they wanted to protect Alabama if they lost the SEC title game because they had to play an extra game. Yeah. The committee's decisions are like, we need the teams in the position we need the teams in, And then we go, how do we defend that from the positions that we want from here? It's a backward sort of organism rather than like the head-to-head thing, which is the simplest thing in the world. Like Miami beat Notre Dame straight up. Yeah. The metrics are neck and neck everywhere. I added that beginning there.
What do you think about BYU? Because I saw a lot of people that were frustrated with that.
Absolutely. BYU has last year the SEC in the statistical metrics over the last 20 years has like outperformed actually. Like they're actually in the statistical bias has been less SEC bias than than people usually will claim, at least according to the SEC.
Okay.
They lobbied for strength of record and a bunch of other metrics like the Sagarin ratings, the SP plus, like all these different statistical measures that usually show a bunch of SEC teams at the top, like more than half the conference usually.
Yeah.
This year it's a little bit lower, but they did successfully lobby to get strength of record on the sheet that the committee uses. So the strength of record is officially supposed to be one of the main things the committee uses. And BYU is 6th in strength of record.
That's incredible.
BYU should easily be it. It shouldn't actually be a question for them.
Yeah,
that they should,
especially when you're comparing it to then Notre Dame. Like that's the other team that they're comparing to right now. If you were just going to go head to head and say everything else, the first 9 teams were fine, we're locked in. If it's BYU or Notre Dame, and you just use that, and you just think about, okay, Notre Dame, like who have they even played? And by the way, when you were talking in your whole, obviously argument of why should surpass them, you start looking at some of these games that are fraudulent anyways for Notre Dame that would be considered impressive when you're just looking at the point margin. And it's like, well, no, the people weren't even playing.
Notre Dame's strength of schedule was like, it's funny is they played so many ACC teams. Miami and Notre Dame have like identical strength of schedule. They have identical strength of record. Their metrics are like neck and neck with each other. Notre Dame is like 3, Miami is 7 in like the in SP plus, and then in the FBI rankings, they're literally like right on top of each other.
I think with the thing that frustrates me with Notre Dame, and I get this early in the season, especially now, obviously college football has changed a lot with all the players moving, and so you kind of go with legacy teams, and you look at it early in the season with the rankings. Cool, there could be tons of variability. At this point, though, this kind of mentality that Notre Dame deserves to be up here or something like that. That's what's always frustrated me. They always get this like benefit of the doubt because they're like this historic franchise and everybody has like this nostalgic feeling towards Notre Dame, and then you just look at it and you're like, play somebody, beat somebody. Like, I don't want you beating Syracuse and throwing up 70 points. I want you to go against an SEC team and actually look like you're relevant and you're playing good ball instead of like,
then they'll point to the Arkansas game and finished 0-8 in the SEC.
Yeah, and then it's like, no, I'm talking about an SEC. When I'm talking SEC team, I'm talking about one of the powerhouse SEC teams. Like, people forget that Arkansas is even in the SEC. It's like, okay, like you don't go to the bottom of the division in order to prove your point.
A fun history fact. Arkansas started the SEC chant.
Okay.
I
didn't know that.
This is like going back to the end of the Southwestern Conference. We'll end the pod on this because we've gotten totally off topic.
I think America loves it.
Arkansas left the Southwest Conference partially due to like they were the one team that was out of Texas, and Texas was about to blow up the conference anyways. And Arkansas hates Texas, despises Texas. And they have like a kind of a like back and forth, but they like see a lot of them see Texas as their main rival.
Yeah.
So they were playing Texas right at the end where they were leaving to the SEC. There was a whole fight, and the Arkansas fans just started chanting like SEC in that final game against Texas.
Oh, nice.
And then that's like was in the 90s was the beginning of the whole like SEC thinking of the SEC as a conference, as a mindset, as an idea, rather than like a regional scheduling alliance, which it pretty much was before that.
Yeah, I love the historical nugget. By the way, for all Razorback Nation, I got family that lives up there. I'm not attacking you for being in the SEC. I'm talking about when somebody tries to prove, hey, who's in the SEC, if we should take them down, I don't think that's the top team that comes to mind, right? And so it's tough when they start saying like, oh, we did play an SEC team, and then you're like, Arkansas?
Notre Dame's resume is they beat USC at home. And USC struggles in big cold weather environments.
Look, hot take to get you to stick around to the end of the pod. I think the hot take is Notre Dame lies on their resume. They're that applicant that says they're doing all this stuff. They're hitting you with a bunch of fluff, and then they get to the job, and you realize, great, I'm going to have to pick up the slack for this person.
Like, how do they ever get hired? The real funny part of this is that this is actually Oklahoma's fault.
Yeah,
It's entirely Oklahoma's fault for beating Alabama.
Yeah, I say we
there would be no problem.
Just everything blame Oklahoma.
It's Oklahoma's fault.
Speaking of Oklahoma, they're looking at their first
blame
shot of snow come Thursday morning, bringing it back to weather to let you know, hey, guess what? Red River region out towards even Oklahoma City, you may get some light snowfall. First one of the season. That's what we're talking about on the stream. Tomorrow we're going to be having tailgate. We got a cold plunge, maybe dialed up. We got a good barbecue chef. I'm going to be probably making a fool of myself.
Steve, I've heard a couple of rumors that the cold plunge is not going to be for you. You're going to be spared. I've heard.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
I've heard some rumors that you might be spared.
We know there's last minute changes.
I know. It's like you're a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, if they can, they'll probably have me chug Tabasco, then throw cold water on me, and I'll have to run through New York. Like, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Don't volunteer. Don't speak it into the ether.
Yeah, so
I know the full script of that part.
Wow. So you're trying to say that everything's scripted?
It's rigged.
Huh?
It's actually rigged.
Are you saying
as
sports are scripted too? Is that your hot take? No. All right, we're not going to get into that because we're running out of time. So here's the deal.
You got to get to your show.
That's Thursday. Yeah. I don't know. America might be happy if I miss my show. So here's the deal. That's Thursday. That's tailgate. Friday we'll probably be doing a bonus episode. Then over the weekend we're covering all the games, and by that time you're locking in really with some certainty and feeling a lot better of overall what the impact is going to be like. So thank you so much for tuning in to this and really diving into something outside of weather for a little bit at the end of the pod. We love having fun. Make sure you reach out to us anywhere. I'm on social media at Weatherbender. Jared,
I am at Jared C. Maloney, Jarrod.
Want to give your social and your number out there too? Spelling it all out. Hey, have a fun and safe rest of your Wednesday or whenever you're listening to this, and we will catch you on the next.